It's Euro 2000. It's the semi-final. Holland taking on Italy, and it comes down to penalties. Franesco Totti is up next. He's getting ready to take his penalty, and he's about to walk out from the group of players towards the penalty spot. And he says to Maldini, guess what? I'm gonna go and chip him. And Maldini laughs, ha ha ha. He's trying to lessen the tension by saying that he's gonna go and try to chip Edwin van der Sar in the Dutch goal. Because of course, Totti would never do that. No sane player would try to go and chip Edwin van der Sar. So Maldini talks about how he has a chuckle, and then as Totti walks up to the penalty spot, this thought goes into his mind, oh my God, this guy is such an idiot. He's really gonna go and try to chip Edwin freaking van der Sar. And sure enough, Totti goes up and Totti chips and he scores. And Italy go on to win that game on penalties. Of course, Italy went on to lose the final to France in very dramatic fashion, but that's certainly not a favorite moment for me.
My favorite Euros moment is the 2000 final between France and Italy. I was in a bar with a lot of my friends, and I think like a lot of people in that bar in Paris, we were about to walk out towards the end of the game because Italy were 1-0 up. And losing to the Italians in a final like this was hard to take, you know, for us. I was only 19 at the time. It was our tournament. There was no other ways, and yet we were 1-0 down to the Italians of all people, and about to lose that game. And we were like, should we go then? Should we leave? And we're like, oh, let's stay for a little bit more. And in the 93rd minute, we got that big goal kick from Barthez, and then the flick from Trezeguet, and then Viltort scoring that goal out of nothing, out of nowhere, to make it 1-1, and suddenly the bar exploded. And then you had that feeling that there could be only one winner now. After that, in extra time, it was going to be France, because the Italians were so convinced they were going to win it now. They were only a few seconds away from winning the Euros. And then for a winning goal, a golden goal like that, for Pires on the left-hand side to do his little tricks and then cross the ball, and the purest volley or half volley, left foot volley as well from Trezeguet that you would ever seen. If we thought that the Viltort goal was incredible in terms of the atmosphere where we were and in the stadium and everywhere in France, the winning goal from Trezeguet was just something else. I mean, we jumped and we lost everything. The drinks were everywhere. The food in that bar was just absolutely mental. And it's one of those moments where when it happens to your team or your country, this is a dream come true. It's incredible.
My favourite memory of the Euros is Euro 96, which was played in England, of course across the border from my native country, Scotland.
Euro 96 was the only major tournament to be hosted in England in my lifetime.
Some amazing teams. Take you back to Group A, England, Holland, Scotland and Switzerland, all very strong.
Unfortunately, losing to England at Wembley, people will remember that great Gascoigne goal.
I hope Craig Burley is not watching, because it was a Scotland-England game when Scotland actually lost 2-0. Alan Shearer scored, but the other goal came from a certain Paul Gascoigne, and it was probably one of the most iconic goals I think I've ever seen from an absolute genius.
Gazza, of course, against Scotland. Shearer against the Dutch. Stuart Pearce against Spain. And that incredible celebration in the penalty shootout.
My abiding memory is the final game in the group for us, which was at Villa Park against a good Switzerland side, and we had to win to get through, which we did, but we had to win by a certain amount of goals because the story changed at Wembley. Now, we got a first half goal through Ali McCoy's from Rangers, and a great goal it was, but as the second half went on, things started to develop at Wembley, where England were playing the Dutch. We had to get 2 or 3 goals ourselves to get through. We didn't manage that, so as England piled the goals on against Holland, it became 2, we were still out. When it became 3, we were still out, so we were pushing forward. The word was coming on, get forward, we're still out, we need another goal. And then England scored the 4th to go 4-0 up against Holland at Wembley. At that point, we were through with 1-0. And then lo and behold, Patrick Kluivert scored a consolation goal for Holland to make it 4-1, and that meant we had to pile forward again with only a few minutes on the clock. Couldn't get the job done, beat Switzerland 1-0, glorious failure, but we went out because England allowed Patrick Kluivert to score a goal.
And then that extraordinary match against Germany when it looked for a moment that maybe we could go all the way. But that penalty miss from Gareth Southgate, of course, deflated that excitement. But over the years, it's incredible how you look back at that tournament and think what could have been and how great it was at unifying the country, because you know, at that semi-final moment, pretty much everyone was gathered watching that penalty shootout.
My best moment for European Championship is not the one that I won in 2000, but the 1984 in France. It was the first competition that I had the chance to watch in my country, and it was a special moment because, of course, we won it, but because I saw a fantastic player. It was Michel Platini, who scored 9 goals in 5 games. And was absolutely fantastic. I remember that game against Yugoslavia when he scored with the right foot, with the left foot and a header. And I think he scored 2 hat-tricks during the competition. He said after the competition and after his career that it was the only international tournament, the only moment with the national team that he played with no injury. And that was very special. I was 16 at the time and I really discovered somebody special. Every touches, every dribble, everything that he was doing was absolutely special. Even Zinedine Zidane during the competition, during the World Cup, didn't have that because he was good maybe after the quarterfinal. But Michel Platini was absolutely fantastic from the first game to the last game. That was very special for me.
My best memory of the Euros has to go back to 1988 and the final and that second goal in that match that was by Marco van Basten, that peeling run to the far post, ball over the top, and the clean hit by Marco van Basten from what seemed an impossible angle over the head of who was one of the best goalkeepers at the time, Rinat Dasaev for the Soviet Union. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to go back to the Olympic Stadium in Munich and just to picture what that ball was like, that service from the other side of the box, behind the defender, full volley, clean contact, impossible angle, great goal. And one of the things that is most outstanding about that Dutch team of the 1988 is not only the players, but the uniforms. The uniforms were something special, iconic jerseys, one of the best jerseys you will ever see. And if you were born anywhere or anytime before the 1980s and you're a fan of this game, you see that jersey, you know exactly what that team was and what that team represented and what a goal that was by Marco van Basten that sealed the final for the Dutch.
As a teenager sitting down to watch the European Championship finals, the mighty West Germany at the time against Czechoslovakia, clearly the underdogs, I thought I was going to sit down and be talking about how great that West Germany were. Well, in fact, they were lucky to even be in this game. They were 2-0 down, incredibly, typically German. They came back and got a last-minute equaliser. The game went to penalties. Again, it can only be one winner. Has to be West Germany. The great Sepp Maier in goal, who at the time was probably the best goalkeeper in the world, against a Czechoslovakia side who basically were unknowns. Well, by the end of the penalties, we certainly knew at least one in particular, and that man's name, Panenka. Nobody had ever seen a penalty kick like it before. The deciding penalty, chipped down the middle, the greatest goalkeeper in the world lying on his back, absolutely bamboozled, and of course, Panenka, a name never to be forgotten since.
The one I will always remember is the game between Italy and Spain in 2016. I was with John Champion working for ESPN. Italy weren't a particularly good side. We'd seen them play the Republic of Ireland in the last qualifying game. They hadn't played well, they'd lost to the Republic of Ireland. They were against a Spanish side that were all concrete and had great players, played a particular brand of football. Everybody inside the Paris Stadium thought, and the reason that I remember it so well is because Antonio Conte was going to Chelsea. I'd admired what he'd done at Juventus, but he was now doing it with a side and with players that I didn't think were particularly good and nobody thought were particularly good. They didn't really stand a chance against Spain, but they completely outplayed them. His antics on the side were a joy to watch in a certain way because he was coaching the side, he was kicking every ball, the players were reacting to him. The small contingent of Italian fans were getting right behind the team. It was a brilliant display. It was a manager at the top of his game who was then going to go on and win the title at Chelsea. The way tactics overcame the way Spain wanted to play. It was the time when everybody expected one team to win, but the brilliance of Antonio Conte, the brilliance of the players themselves in terms of carrying out the game plan, that's what made Italy win the game, and that's why it stayed in my mind.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.